Shamar Stewart, he's now left in the midst of a contract dispute.
I just decided not to sign those papers.
That's a bad look for the organization.
Okay, after a lengthy training camp holdout, Trey Hendrickson is back in Cincy. That's going to be where we begin today. So we are joined now, as you can see, by Ben Baby, who's there. He's live at Bengals camp, where life just got a little bit better, right? Ben, how was Trey Hendrickson's first day back in Cincinnati?
Laura, you ask a lot of guys today, and it felt normal. And in fact, I spoke to defensive end Myles Murphy. He thought today was going to be the day he finally beats Trey Hendrickson into the building on his first day back. Myles told me he rolled in around 6:30 and 6:45, and no, Hendrickson was already in the cold tub ready to go. He was in meetings this morning, and while he wasn't practicing, he was definitely a very intense observer. I saw him working with a lot of the young players, including Murphy, who told me that Hendrickson was giving him some technique tips, such as how to work his shoulder in certain moves. He spent some time working with rookie first-rounder Shamar Stewart in between drills. And in talking to guys, they appreciated having him back in the building. Quarterback Joe Burrow said that it's good to see his face here, and he said that Hendrickson brings a unique intensity, but it's something that is appreciated. They all understand the value he brings, and in talking to the guys today, they also understand the value of having someone like that in the locker room while they're trying to get things sorted out. Obviously, there's still no deal, and he hopes that they can get something done, but that remains to be seen if the two sides can work something out before the start of the season.
All right, so the next time we have you on is going to be when they get this deal done. So maybe it's going to be like tomorrow or something. But it was good to see him back out there. And important that he's working with Shamar Stewart. We've all said a lot of Stewart's success probably relies on Trey Hendrickson. Thanks so much to Ben Baby. Now, speaking of Trey Hendrickson, he also spoke to the media today. Here's what he had to say regarding his contract.
I'm a firm believer of hard work works. The work I've done in the last 4 years, 5 years, 8 years in the NFL is done. I can't do any more at this time to rush the passer on Sundays. The hay's in the barn. It's just whether we agree or not. There are plans on not having to play under the current deal. So I think that's something we have a common goal to get to. I think that's the plan moving forward. It's like, you know, no distractions. I'm excited to be here. I think it's great seeing the brotherhood that's been created here, and it's special. So.
We got Meg Tannenbaum today, Louis Riddick, Dan Graziano, the perfect group to talk a little contracts. Whenever somebody's talking about their contract and it's not done, I'm always trying to like read between the lines with what he's saying there, but it's pretty simple. It seems like from Hendrickson. Graz, what more can you tell us about these talks between the Bengals and Hendrickson?
Really haven't made any significant advancements over the last, I guess, couple of months. The Bengals believe they've put forth a fair offer. Trey Hendrickson disagrees, and at some point, one side or the other is going to have to make a move. But Trey Hendrickson, I mean, you listen. You know, he requested a trade earlier in the offseason because of the contract situation, but they couldn't find a trade partner. He really just wants the Bengals to find a way to make this right so he can continue his career in a place where he's been very happy. So it's about guarantees in future years, something the Bengals haven't done in very many contracts, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase being the exceptions. But at 30 years old, Trey Hendrickson is not a guy that the Bengals feel great about making that move for at this point. So we continue to wait.
Yeah, and Laura, what's interesting is TJ Watt and Trey Hendrickson are 2 months apart, Graz. So because of that, he's saying, hey, I've outproduced TJ Watt. We are the same age. Why should I take anything less? Over the last 2 years, I've led the NFL in sacks. And if I was the Bengals guys, here's what I'm concerned about. The $50,000 fines go away because he's now in. But back in 2019, Jalen Ramsey of the then Jaguars, quote unquote, held in with a bad back, didn't practice, eventually got traded to the Rams, and the rest is history. So now that he's back and not practicing, if I'm the Bengals, I'm trying to figure out a way to get this deal done. They had a great offseason getting Jamar Chase and T. Higgins extended, but until he practices, there is a vulnerability here that this keeps going on. And again, it's not often, but it did happen in 2019 where Jalen Ramsey was able to force a trade despite being in the building every day.
Yeah, look, I mean, Mike, this almost seems too easy in terms of wanting to get it done. I mean, I get that. And Mike Brown has already stated the fact that, you know, he feels as though this eventually will get done because he said, quote, you know, these things have a way working themselves out. I'll tell you what, I'm sure when he put his eyes on him here today, when you just looked at Trey Hendrickson right there, does it look like my man's been working out? Does it look like he's ready to roll?
Oh, yeah.
This dude is a pass rushing phenom now. I mean, look, he's strapped and ready to go now. And what's interesting about this is the fact that, look, I had this debate with Mad Dog on First Take earlier today when you're talking about guys who are already under contract and should they honor their contract versus, the teams being able to get out of conditional guarantees and, especially when it seems as though a contract becomes prohibitive to the salary cap and doesn't allow them to do the things they do. Like, they can get out of contracts, but players shouldn't be asking for more money. Look, Trey Hendrickson, I said this earlier today, he has so far outperformed his current contract, that it's not even funny. And this whole thing about, being 30 years old and maybe them having a little bit of an issue with trying to project his future performance, look, he doesn't have a significant injury history. He doesn't have, especially in the recent past, over the past 2 to 3 years, he doesn't have those ups and downs in terms of his production or his availability. So projecting forward, obviously Cincinnati has a lot more information than we do. I just don't find myself being someone who would be really uncomfortable with maybe making some exceptions for a guy like this who is so important to us getting to where we want to get to if we really value getting to that place.
Go, Gross.
Yeah, the Bengals are uncomfortable with doing it for anyone. They didn't want to have to do it for Burrow. They didn't want to have to do it for Chase. But they did for those two exceptional players who were both 26 years old at the time they signed the extensions. So the concern is not about injury history or anything like that. It's about, at some point does the play decline, and fundamentally about a front office that absolutely abhors the idea of guaranteeing money in future years in any contract they give out.
That's a good reminder specific to Cincinnati. By the way, you heard Mike T mentioning TJ Watt. Myles Garrett and Watt, the only players with more sacks than Hendrickson since he joined the Bengals in 2021. His production cannot be denied. That's in the past, though. They're more concerned with the future. All right, there have been a bunch of injury news across the league. Isaiah Likely fractured his foot. Malik Neighbors injured his shoulder. Tyler Guyton is going to miss some time with a knee injury. Xavier Worthy is in concussion protocol. Christian Gonzalez hasn't been able to practice with a hamstring injury. We've got so many different situations there. You see Kader Kohu, he's got the knee. You also see Martin Emerson Jr., they're out for the year. Those two, unfortunate. Now, one of those notable injuries being Baltimore tight end Isaiah Likely, who suffered a small fracture in his foot on the final play of Tuesday's practice. He's expected to miss some time, but could be back for the Ravens season opener against the Bills. If Likely misses significant time, though, it'll be a huge blow to that Ravens offense, right? Baltimore tight ends caught 18 touchdown passes, including 6 by Likely. That's the next closest team. The Steelers tight ends caught 10 touchdowns last year. So you see just how important he is, and there's so much that they do that relies on him. Graz, what's the severity, you think, of Likely's injury?
He has to have surgery to repair it, and the expected recovery time is somewhere in like the 6-week range from what I understand. That puts you right up against week 1. So obviously there's concern that they won't have him for week 1, possibly even for a couple of games in September, depending on how his recovery goes. So it's not a full season thing or anything like that, but it does look like there is a good chance that Likely will have to miss time.
Yeah, Lewis, how big of a loss do you think this is for Baltimore?
Yeah, Laura, it's significant. He's a big part of their passing game. You look at his play time. I mean, last year it was right around 59%, just below 60. Mark Andrews just above 60 at 61%. So you know that 12 personnel, 13 personnel packages, 1 running back, 3 tight ends, 2 tight ends. I mean, this is a big part of what they do. And passing out of that is a big part of what they do. Isaiah had 1 drop this year on 60 plus targets. He's a sure-handed guy. He is someone that has continued to progress during his time in Baltimore. So to not have him on the football field for any amount of time, considering what the expectations are for Baltimore in 2025, is a significant thing and one that bears watching for sure.
Yeah, look, I think they got somewhat lucky from a standpoint that hopefully he could get back maybe by the start of the regular season. And not all injuries are the same from a standpoint. It's the same offensive coordinator, obviously the same quarterback. And to Lou's point, yes, they do want to play a lot of 12 personnel. It was at the 6th highest rate last year, and he had 58 targets. But if you're going to miss time, you want it with a veteran and an incumbency, which is what they have. The other interesting part of this is Isaiah Likely's in the last year of his contract. We just went through Trey Hendrickson's situation.